Hi, and welcome to my series of returning to exercise after pregnancy. My reasoning for doing the series is there isn't a lot of evidence or understanding or guidance when it comes to actually returning to exercise. Typically, what happens is you have your postpartum follow up visit around weeks 6 through 8, and you're either given the clearance to exercise or not. But how to start exercising isn't as clear. Do I just jump into the activities that I want to do? Do I need to gradually re enter or restart them? And really, all of this is going to be very independent on your pregnancy journey and your delivery, and whether you had a vaginal delivery, a C-section, whether it was long, was it easy, was there a lot of trauma. So it's very individual. I think of returning to exercise as 4 different stages. The first one would be restore alignment and core strategy through the use of the breath. After that, it would be then incorporating that core strategy with functional movements, and then monitoring symptoms and modifying what you're doing and progressing what you're doing based on your symptom response. So that could be leakage, it could be like low level pain, it could be just how you're feeling in general. And then after that, adding speed and impact progressions. So basically, you're trying to learn how to reconnect everything, how to then engage and coordinate it during movement. Then you want to load and train it. And then after that, it's just monitoring and modifying based on how you're feeling. Some red flags when you're returning to exercise would be pain, increased bleeding. So typically that increased bleeding is defined as wetting a pad, fully wetting a pad within an hour. Complete loss of bladder or bowels. So that's not just like a little bit of like, oops, I peed myself, but like complete loss of bladder or your bowels. If you're feeling faint, dizziness, or lightheaded. So those are the main things you kind of want to look for when you're returning to exercise. Go over each stage a little bit. We will have follow-up videos that elaborate on each stage with a more lengthy description and demonstration. So the first stage is to restore alignment and core strategy through the use of the breath. And the focus of this stage is really to get the pelvic floor, the diaphragm, and the transverse abdominis to start working and coordinating together again as a team. This is important because the body changes that occur while you're pregnant, to make room for the baby, really extend us backwards through that rib cage. And then the diaphragm and the pelvic floor aren't stacked as well anymore, and we often need to relearn how to stack them and get them to work together as a team when we're letting air in and out, and get that abdomen to work as well, moving in and out. And that's going to help with our pressure gradient, which basically means like how much pressure is in our abdomen, which will affect our bracing mechanics and affect any leakage that you may be experiencing. After that, you want to incorporate that new core, I like to call it a core strategy. So the teamwork between the pelvic floor, the transverse abdominis, and the diaphragm. You want to work that teamwork with functional movements. So that might look like incorporating the breath with a squat. That might look like, depending on how your body's feeling, it could be doing clamshells. It could be doing some monster walks with a band. It could be doing a hip hinge or deadlift-like motion with minimal weight. But basically now layering movement in with that core strategy, which originally was more static. After that, it's monitoring symptoms and modifying and progressing as you feel able. So this is basically when you're starting to return back to your sport, and this modifying and monitoring is going to look different depending on your sport. A weightlifter will do something different than a runner, who will do something different than somebody who likes to do yoga. And so this is more individual, but basically you're monitoring for symptoms like pain, leakage, like back pain, shoulder pain, hip pain, and just how's your body feeling and responding to exercise, and using those symptoms as a way to tell whether you should modify what you're doing or progress what you're doing. And then after that, it's layering in speed and impact progressions. And once again, those are going to be very individual and vary based on your sport of choice. It is okay to have mild symptoms when you are returning to exercise. That's going to help indicate whether you should progress or not. So I don't want you to think that it must be absolutely feel great. Like there are going to be times where you overdo it a little bit, or as you're trying something new that your body responds in a way that maybe you didn't anticipate. And that's okay. You're not going to harm anything. But you can use those symptoms as a way to determine what you need to work on. So now I'm going to go over this system with two examples. The first one's going to be a squat movement, and then after that, it's going to be a pull-up movement. So for reconnecting, it's going to look the same for the squat and the pull-up. So that would be just learning how to, using the breath in different positions to get the pelvic floor, the diaphragm, and the transverse abdominals to work together. So this could be on all fours, this could be sitting, laying down, on your side, all different positions, and just depending on how gravity is working on the body, getting those muscles to work again as a team. And then engaging and coordinating. So for the squat, that's going to look like breathing in on the way down, exhaling up, and like getting the muscles to relax as you go down and engage as you're standing up. So doing that with a squat movement, with clamshell variations, banded walks, lower body movements. For the pull-up, learning how to engage and coordinate looks more like doing upper body banded works. That's what I did at home because that's the equipment I had. So doing a banded row, doing a banded Y, doing a banded lat pull down, unilateral and bilateral, but syncing those movements with the breath. And then to load and train with the squat at the gym, that looks like adding weight to a barbell. So seeing how your body feels with that. Are you getting any pain? Are you getting any leakage? How's the core feel? Do you feel like everything's working together as a team, or does it feel kind of discoordinated? For the pull-up, that could be as simple as starting to try a pull-up if a ring row felt good. Starting with a band, how does that feel? Starting with hanging movements, how does that feel? How's your core responding? How's your body responding? What's your bracing mechanics like? Are you bearing down? Are you engaging fully through the abdomen? And then monitoring and modifying. So for example, for me, the back squat, don't really have any symptoms at all. It's just getting used to bracing under load again. So that I can add weight as my body's able to coordinate and stand up well. However, the pull-up was a different experience. So I thought starting with just hanging would be a great starting point. However, hanging was actually too taxing on my abdomen. As you can see here, and actually this felt fine, but I didn't really have much connection with my abdomen. So you can see here, as I'm hanging, I'm getting that coning where that bulge is right there. So unsupported hanging, not appropriate for my abs right now. So then I tried adding a band, a little better, still coning happening. I added another band, and that was much better. And actually I could start to feel my abs working. So I needed some support I needed to make it easier to make it harder, if that makes sense. And what you can see here is I'm no longer having that bulging occurring at right below the rib cage, but it's flatter and everything looks like it's kind of pulling together and in a bit. And so another variation for this would be like my foot supported and 1 foot off. So what I like about my foot being on the bench is I can get some posterior chain, my glutes and my hamstrings working as well to help support my core and my system as well as I'm doing that hang. And then instead of doing banded pull-ups, which right now is a bit too taxing on my abdomen, not my arms or my pulling muscles, foot supported rope climb for me, it feels like a great way for me to get my core to work. As you can see here, I'm not having any coning. You can see it's flat through there. It's not bulging out. I can actually feel my core working, which feels nice, and pulling in and tightening. And I can feel my arms working really well. So for me, at least, a rope climb is the appropriate way for me or not rope climb, foot supported rope pulls are a great way for me to start some pulling work until my core keeps strengthening. This could be completely different for somebody who doesn't have a diastasis or didn't have a C-section. They might be completely fine with hanging right off the bat and doing pull-ups right off the bat, but they might actually need more modifications squatting. So this is when, or jumping or pulling off the floor, stuff that that has more intra-abdominal pressure. So this is when having a healthcare provider help you with different progressions based on your pregnancy and birthing experience is very helpful. So some other factors you want to think about and remember is you're going to be tired. You're not sleeping, you're feeding a baby, you're up at night. So that fatigue is going to play a part in how your body's responding to exercise. The stress, there's a lot of stress that comes with early parenthood. So keep in mind how that's affecting the body. The body doesn't really distinguish different types of stresses. So adding physical stress already onto that emotional stress or the physical stress of just caring for children and a newborn, that's going to be adding up. So monitoring how the accumulation of that stress is affecting your system. If you're returning to work, that's a lot of extra physical activity as well. So for example, my job as a physical therapist, I'm standing a lot and I'm moving around and I'm applying pressure, testing people. So that's a lot on my body when first re-entering, and I need to keep that into account also as I'm adding more exercise into my daily routine or my day-to-day. And then nutrition also. I don't know about you guys, but my nutrition isn't the best right after having a kiddo. You're usually too tired, either don't have time, you're just trying to get something into your bodies. So that can also play a role in just how your body's feeling in general when returning to exercise. The last thing I want to leave you with is to be kind and gentle with yourself and your body. You just went through this 9-month-long journey, a labor, you have this new born at home with you, you're tired, your body doesn't feel the same or look the same. So just be gentle and kind when you are starting to exercise again. Focus on not what you want to be able to do, not on what you used to be able to do, what you can't do, but on the things that are making you feel good and confident right now in the moment. It can be easy to get down on yourself like, man, I used to be able to do X, Y, and Z so easily, and now I can't even, hang from a pull-up bar. I used to be able to do 1,000,000 pull-ups. Instead, look at what can I accomplish right now that's helping me get towards my long-term goals and take it one stage at a time.